WLUW. State Representative Hoan Huynh, who is running for 9th Congressional District, and also Natalie Howse. She is running for the 1st Judicial Subcircuit. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today, Trudy.
Yes.
And thank you so much for having me today as well, Trudy.
Okay. Well, first of all, Natalie, could you define for us your duties as a circuit court judge if you get elected, and also what are you doing now?
Okay. Well, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, the Cook County Circuit Court is a court of general jurisdiction. So it handles all different types of cases. So when most people think of judges, they think of judges that work in the criminal justice system. Well, they certainly do handle those types of cases. However, they also handle cases as wide ranging from probate, what they call the law division. So that'll be like your big medical malpractice cases. They do probate. I already said probate, mortgage foreclosure, evictions. They also handle contract disputes. I think that a lot of the cases that are handled in the Daily Center are contract disputes. So they handle a wide range of cases. So when we say the Circuit Court of Cook County, we mean that it's a court of general jurisdiction. So they handle everything. It's like a hodgepodge of cases. And in terms of where judges get assigned and placed, that is determined by the chief judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County, who is currently Charlie Beach. And I am not a judge at this time, but I am an attorney. I have my own practice, and so I am a full-time judicial candidate.
Also, Natalie, you are helping to you serve on a lot of boards and outreach for youth, etc., and for marginalized populations. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, that is very correct. I do serve on a lot of boards. I've been a community servant for at least most of my career, at least over 20 years of my career. I'm past president of the Cook County Bar Association. The Cook County Bar Association is the oldest association of black lawyers and judges in the country. Then I'm also past regional director of the National Bar Association. The National Bar Association is a collection of African American lawyers and judges, bar groups across the country. And it was started in 1925 by members of the Cook County Bar Association. Yeah, and to your point, I definitely do have a lot of community service. I have community service working within the Bar Association itself. I'm currently the legal director of our legal clinic for the Cook County Bar Association's foundation. We provide free legal services to people on the south and west sides of Chicago. Again, our legal services are not, directed towards one population, but we do provide expungement and sealing services to folks on the south and west sides of Chicago. I've been the director of the legal clinic for the past 3 years. I'm also co-chair of the misdemeanor subcommittee on the Chicago Appleseed Center for Fair Courts. That is a subcommittee where we are assisting the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee on looking at a proposal for a diversion program for the Circuit Court of Cook County. Our diversion program is aimed for the age groups of people from the ages of 18 and 26, where if you are charged with a misdemeanor offense, you would be able to have your case diverted instead of going to court, to be able to give you a second chance so that you will not have a misdemeanor conviction on your record. One of the things that I found working within the legal clinics for the Cook County Bar Association is many of our young people cannot find jobs because they have a misdemeanor conviction, right? Misdemeanor conviction. It used to be when I was coming up, if you were a convicted felon, you could not find a job. Well, now our young people cannot get jobs because they have a misdemeanor conviction. And that is because many of the jobs that are available to people today are you're dealing with people going into their homes. So it's like Amazon, DoorDash, Uber Eats. You're not necessarily, you're dealing with the public, but you're coming to the public, you're coming to their home. And so those corporations cannot employ people if they have any type of conviction. So we are helping people to, when they have those charges, to help them to stay integrated into society, because if you cannot become a productive member of society if you do not have employment.
Well, you were talking about how your office has a lot of resources and you help constituents with all sorts of problems. Have you worked with these organizations that Natalie mentioned? And if so, how have any anything that stands out that you would want to share with our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is State Representative Hoan Huynh from the 13th State House District, also running for U.S. Congress in the 9th Congressional District, the north side of Chicago and Lake County, McHenry County. And I'd say this, before I enter public service as a state representative, I also worked in community investments in the Chicagoland area, and we led investment projects across Chicagoland, whether that was on the south side, west side, or north side. And we really looked at working in terms of providing economic opportunity, housing opportunity, and legal support as well. So I spent a lot of time working with the Lawndale Christian Legal Center down on the south side, making sure that folks are able to, and particularly our young people are able to access legal services and access economic opportunity. And as mentioned, we understand that certainly the very baseline, aside from certainly food, safety, and shelter, is economic opportunity as well for folks to get to their next level of their life in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I think at the state level, we've been very focused on in terms of making sure that when folks are leaving the criminal justice system and they're coming back as returning citizens, that they're set up for success. So that means, again, setting them up for housing opportunities, healthcare opportunities, and economic opportunity. And so we have had numerous job fairs in my state house district in Uptown, at Truman College over the last several years, where we have had connected our returning citizens with economic opportunities across the state, and certainly with economic opportunities from private employers as well.
Well, if I were a returning citizen and attending that job fair and speaking with you, I would love to intern with your office. Have you ever had anyone, a returning citizen, work for you?
Yeah, we've had a variety of different volunteers in our office. Folks have had different wide variety of experiences as well, and I think it's important for us to make sure that we expose people to different skill sets and different experiences. So it's something that's very important to me, is making sure that we're able to work with folks from all walks of life, and we've been very strategic and very adamant about that. But I think certainly my state house district is one of the most diverse districts in all of America, and so I think we want to make sure that when folks come back from the criminal justice system, that they're set for success. And I think we've been able to find ways to make sure that we keep folks engaged at the community level, and then certainly once they are in the community, that we keep them again really able to reach their fullest human potential.
Do you do a lot of outreach toward these communities as well?
Yeah, so I sit on numerous committees down in Springfield, and certainly when I was on the Human Rights Committee, we really looked at ways in which when we have folks leave the criminal justice system, that when folks are coming back into our neighborhoods, that we set them up for success. So I have worked with our young people who have left the criminal justice system. I have worked with our older adults who have as well, and we also try to make sure that we set them up for educational opportunities. So we have certainly Truman College, which is in my state house district, and we have had success working with Truman College as well in terms of setting folks up for further educational opportunities in our state house district. So I really believe that everyone deserves a second chance. And what we have also seen in Springfield, even in the last session, is we were able to pass a series of bills that allows for folks to really get a second chance in our state. And one of the bills that we also passed to make sure that it was easier is when folks leave the criminal justice system, that they also have access to an identification card, an ID card. We found out that was one of the barriers to entry when folks were leaving the criminal justice system. So that was something that was very important to us, is to make sure that we set folks up for success by just having an ID card, so that they're able to then apply for public benefits, that they're able to then apply for economic opportunity, to apply for housing opportunity. And so I think certainly with Natalie here, we think we got to make sure we work in conjunction, in collaboration with one another as well, with the courts, to set up our young people for success.
So Natalie, you've been working on all these boards, and also let's say you do become a judge. How would you work with an elected official such as Leong?
Yeah, so the current position that I hold with the Chicago Appalachian Center for Fair Courts, I've I believe I would still be able to participate and work with that organization to make that proposal for the Circuit Court of Cook County. And I think that would probably maybe put me in a maybe stronger position to advocate for this program. I would just backtrack for a little bit. At my previous work, I worked as a prosecutor, and I was a state's attorney within the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and I worked in the juvenile court system. And I've seen a diversion program implemented in juvenile court, but I was really, really kind of shocked to find out that there wasn't a similar program for the misdemeanor court system. So, in other words, I've seen a diversion program where it can be successful in Cook County, and I think that it would be worth a shot to give it for adults within the ages of 18 and 26. But you know, judges are public servants, like State Representative Hoan here, and they are also able to participate in certain community service functions. So, in particular, the Illinois Judicial Council, they often go to schools and mentor and read to elementary age students that are from on the south and west sides of Chicago. And so I would continue to participate in activities such as that once I'm elected.
For a judge, of course, you're always busy with your cases, but I think you would also want to stay in touch with your constituents as well. Is there any way for judges to like have a constituents, not services per se, but at least for them to be able to contact you?
Well, as a judge, I don't think that you can have direct contact with any of the litigants that you have, especially ex parte communications with any of the litigants that you have in court. But I think in general, you can participate in organizations that do community outreach. As I've said, you know, organizations like the Illinois Judicial Council and other judge organizations, they go out into the community and they do interact with folks. In terms of providing resources and contact with judges, I think that there may be an opportunity for that, but in terms of specifically being able to address that, I'm not exactly sure how that would work, but I do know that there are opportunities for judges to do community outreach.
Let's talk a little bit about the ICE situations and the various people that have been detained. I heard that there are a flood of habeas cases. What do the two of you know about that, and what are your positions?
Well, as a judicial candidate, I cannot speak directly to particular situations.
Yeah, I would say this. You know, the immigration is very personal to me. My family and I were refugees from the Vietnam War. You know, my grandparents died in Vietnam during the war. My dad spent 5 years in a prison camp. We actually, after the war ended, we actually were left behind, and we waited 18 years for political asylum from the United States to come here. And so I believe, you know, we need to have really a discussion in this country about immigration reforms and what that looks like, and making sure that there is a pathway to citizenship for folks who are undocumented, for our dreamers, for our DACA recipients. I think certainly what we've seen right now with the ICE overreach in this country, I think has been horrific. When we see ICE agents in our streets terrorizing our neighbors, killing people in the streets as well. What we've seen in Chicago and what we've seen in Minneapolis has no place in America. And I think we need to make sure that there is accountability, that there is oversight, and that there is transparency. And I think as someone who is right now running for U.S. Congress, we need to make sure that is the case in Washington, and that we also need to make sure that the individuals who are ICE agents right now are also held accountable for their actions, particularly when these actions have resulted in deaths of innocent civilians and innocent residents in our country.
Isn't it true that ICE has to follow rules that are actually set by Congress? So let's say you are in the seat right now in the 9th Congressional District. What would you do? It seems as if we see the funding being cut off from Homeland Security, but what else would you be wanting to do and encouraging maybe other legislators to collaborate with you to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say this, you know, just about 2 months ago when we saw ICE agents in Chicago, they were actually on the north side lakefront of my state house district. And while we were out protecting our neighbors, making sure that our neighbors knew of their due process, of their constitutional rights, of their right to not speak to an ICE agent, and also the right to a lawyer, we interacted with ICE agents and made sure that they were able to get these rights, and certainly make sure that they had any judicial warrant for anyone's arrest. And in the midst of making sure that we protect our neighbors, I had 6 ICE agents put a gun to my head in broad daylight, point blank at 12 p.m. And for me, in that moment in time, I noticed that these ICE agents did not identify themselves, did not give me their badge number, did not give me their name, did also not tell me what agency that they were operating under as well. So I think what is really important is we need to make sure that there is transparency in the system, right? That these ICE agents, that there is accountability when it comes to them, which agency that they're working for, which what is their name, what is their badge number. I believe that we need a registry of any ICE agent that works for ICE right now that has to be public information, very much like what we have for police officers across our state and across this country, right? Is we know police officers, and I think there's also a way where we've seen in the past where folks can also make complaints whenever we've seen police officers that have overstepped their boundaries. I think we need to also look at ways in which individuals as well can also lodge these complaints against ICE agents who I believe have also overstepped their boundaries as well. So I think that there needs to be a lot more oversight. There needs to be a lot more transparency. I think there also needs to be a lot more accountability as well. And I think you're absolutely right, Trudy, that Congress right now, we have the power of the purse. We have the power to make sure that we stop funding for some of these agencies right now. And we also need to make sure that we also look at the ways in which the money is being spent, that these are taxpayers' money that is being spent for actual law enforcement and not being spent for nefarious sources. And I think we need to also make sure that we are also looking at metrics, right? What are some of the metrics that these agencies are operating under, and how do we actually measure these outcomes as well? But I think we need to really look at some of those solutions, and I think we need to also make sure that within the Oversight Committee of Congress that there is more pressure on ICE right now and on the Department of Homeland Security.
Since Congress has written the rules by which ICE could operate, but they're not following those rules, why isn't there, do you have any idea why there isn't any enforcement, and what enforcement could there be for, let's say, any agency that does not follow the rules in which Congress has established?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say this, Congress, confirmed the confirmation of the last secretary, right, Secretary Leong, the Department of Homeland Security. And so I think certainly that there is now, she's been fired, and so there has been, I think, additional pressure. But I think we cannot let the pressure subside, right? We got to keep the pressure up. We have to keep increasing oversight, transparency. We have to make sure that we bring these individuals to the table and actually ask them these hard questions, right? We have to make sure that this is all out there to the public. And I think once we were able to really expose what has happened with Kristi Noem and her tenure with ICE, we saw all the malpractices that she has committed, and I think that's why she was fired. And so I think we need to make sure that certainly the new person who is currently undergoing right now that confirmation, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, we need to also make sure that that is the case, that there are going to be metrics of accountability, that there is going to be oversight, and that there is going to be transparency to the American people. And so I think we need to be very adamant about that, and we also need to make sure that we look at, again, all the cases that has happened in the past, whether these are cases of U.S. citizens that are being detained by Homeland Security and then being put in some of these very grueling detention centers. But we need to also make sure that all of those documents are going to come to the forefront as well.
Well, Hoan Huynh, thank you so much for joining us on WLUW. I know that you have to go to your next event. And if our listeners want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Yeah, thank you so much, Trudy, for having me on this Sunday morning. We are heading to our next event now, but we want folks to know that this is a very grassroots campaign. So certainly please visit our website, hoanfor9.com, HOANFOR9.com, to learn more information. Our early voting has already started in your local center, and the election day is on March 17, 2026, and my punch number is punch number 45. And with Hoan Huynh, we all win. Thank you so much.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much, Hoan Huynh.
Mm-hmm.
So Natalie, so Natalie, Hoan was speaking so much about transparency and oversight. What do you see in the judicial system, in the courts that in the Cook County Circuit Court, let's say, that might maybe need a little bit more oversight and more transparency?
Well, I think it would be good to have more transparency in terms of like just the overall numbers about the number of cases that are filed within the Circuit Court of Cook County. I think people don't get a really good sense of how large the Circuit Court of Cook County is. The Circuit Court of Cook County is the second largest unified court system in the country. And it's the second largest court system in the country, and so. People don't understand the enormity and the gravity of what the Circuit Court does. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. So they don't understand how large the Circuit Court does. So like I said before, people don't get a sense of how many cases are filed within the Circuit Court of Cook County, and they don't really quite understand the Court of General Jurisdiction and the types of cases that they handle. And I think that if we just do more in order to see the numbers of the cases that are filed each year in the Circuit Court and how long it takes for those cases to get disposed of, I think people would really got to get a greater appreciation of our judicial system and what to expect when they in fact have to go to court. And I think that another interesting fact about the Circuit Court of Cook County is that the number of pro se litigants that are what that means is people that are self-represented that go to court, so that people do not become intimidated when they go to court, and they can know when they go that they will be able to in fact receive a fair disposition.
On the average, you've practiced as a lawyer in Cook County Circuit Court, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yes, and then. Does it take long? Do cases vary? What is an average case? And could it be faster? Should it be faster for a disposition of a case?
Well, it depends on the type of case that you are looking at. I can just speak to my experience. Most of my experience has been the criminal justice system within the criminal law, and I will say that it does take a fair amount of time for a case to go to trial in the Circuit Court of Cook County, specifically a felony case. And the reason why that is because there's so much evidence that has to be gathered and reviewed before a case actually goes to trial. Lawyers have a really very, very important responsibility to ensure that they do the best for their client. The same thing for a prosecutor. They've got to make sure that when they go to court that the evidence that they're presenting is in fact what it is purports to be. And so as a result of that, it does take some time for cases to go to trial. I would say it takes about a year in order for a felony case to be disposed of. And that is a lot different from what I think the general public, their perception of what the criminal justice system is. We have many cases. No, when I was coming up, it was Law and Order was the TV show that people familiarized themselves with the criminal justice system.
How accurate is that show?
Huh?
How accurate is that portrayal of the justice system, of the court system in that show?
Trudy, is not accurate at all. Okay, first of all, those lawyers, they have these really fancy offices compared to what is actually, compared to what the lawyers actually have here in Cook County. And then there's everything. The crime is committed, the case is investigated, and the person is convicted within 60 minutes. That is not an accurate representation of what. So
they have subtitles over there, like after 6 months or after a year, and this is what happened.
Right, exactly. So they don't have those subtitles. Well, they do. Yeah, you're right. They do have those subtitles, but I don't think that people really get that. Does not really make the public appreciate the time frame that a case gets solved. I know one of the things that I encountered when I was working within the criminal justice system, that you would have, a crime that was committed on, let's say March the 1st, but sometimes it would take the police a couple of months to really kind of investigate it and find people, find witnesses, find the evidence, gather evidence, and then find a potential suspect to charge. So that the investigatory process can take months. But then once you get to court, then there's either the person has to get charged, they have to get indicted, the case has to get assigned to a courtroom, and then has to be assigned to particular, courtroom personnel. And once that happens, then the case actually starts to get worked up. So, for example, if there is a DNA hit on the case, then the case has to be, that DNA has to be worked up. And a lot of times DNA takes months sometimes to work up. At least when I was there, it took some months to get it worked up. And then you've got fingerprints, you've got photographs, and then sometimes when it's time to set the case for trial, it's locating witnesses. Sometimes witnesses have left town. You have to locate them, bring them back into town, and make arrangements for them to testify. So all of that usually takes some time, and it could take up to a year or more, if you will, for a case to go to trial. And so, but those are things that many, like I said, the public doesn't really have an appreciation for.
Is there any way to speed it up? It seems as if there is not, but in your experience, do you see any part of the system that could be more expeditious?
Well, in order to make it more expeditious, I think that the biggest hurdle for having, especially felony cases go to trial, is getting the evidence worked up, right? So I talked about fingerprints, I talked about DNA, but the State Attorney's Office relies on the Illinois State Police Crime Lab, and they only have a certain number of DNA analysts that are assigned to a particular case. So if we wanted those things to be, sped up, then I would say that we would probably have to expand that Illinois State Police Crime Lab, the number of people, the number of analysts that they have examining and analyzing DNA, fingerprints, photographs, and those types of things. That would be able to make things, I think, a little bit faster for the court system.
Do you think that, in your opinion, from your experience, how many years of experience now?
I have over 20 years of experience. I have 24 years of experience.
Perfect. Well, let's say they have to hire more people. Based on hiring more people and saving the time to expedite the cases, would there be money saved? I know that people having to go through the system would fare better if everything were faster. But on the whole, would it benefit our system and society to hire more people in the lab, so that cases could move more smoothly through the court system?
Well, I think that's a great question, and that's a great question for society to answer. Does society value criminal justice? What does society value a defendant's rights when they are accused of a crime? Do they value whether or not the defendant has a right to a speedy trial? And does that speedy trial, if we really want that person to go to trial within the 120 days time period, do we really want to invest the resources that is necessary in order for that person to get a speedy trial and also to get a fair trial, right? Because that's the ultimate goal, is for us to get a fair trial and get a just outcome. So that's a larger question for society to answer, and for other elected officials to answer, because do we want to make that investment? Is that a priority for us right now? I know you were talking about some other issues that are going on, but the question is whether or not criminal justice reform and criminal justice resources is that a priority for us as a society? And I would say that I think that it should be. It definitely should be, but I'm pretty sure there's other organizations and groups that may feel a different way.
Well, just based on life logistics, let's say there is a defendant, and there are many defendants, and as these defendants wait in jail or are held in limbo, waiting for a trial or to be cleared of their innocence if they are innocent, that is a lot of years out of their lives, and years in which they could be progressing.
Yeah, that's correct. That is not a good, I can imagine that is not a good feeling to have that case hanging over your head, right? For over a year, not knowing what the outcome is going to be. Yeah, I agree with you. So yeah, for the defendants, for sure, that it's definitely could be very, very, just very stressful. A very stressful situation to have a felony case pending, and then not knowing, and then having it pending for a year or more. And and so I think it should be something that should be prioritized, for those folks. But like I said, we live in a democracy, and in a democracy, everybody has a voice, everybody has a vote. And so the question is whether or not the defendants and their rights and those cases, whether or not the society at large prioritizes those rights when you are accused of a crime.
When a person is accused of a crime but has not been convicted of a crime, are they still allowed to vote?
Yes. Well, it depends on their status, right? I think in the state of Illinois, we made it so that if you are a convicted felon, you can now vote again. However, if you are serving your sentence, you cannot vote. Now, like I said, I've worked in the criminal justice system for a very long period of time. Some people who are on probation, Trudy, in fact, commit other crimes, so they would not be allowed to vote. But if you have been convicted and you've served your time, you can, in fact, vote. Now, Illinois is a very liberal state in that respect, but other states are not as liberal.
Thanks for that. But I think I meant that when people are waiting for a trial and they haven't been convicted yet, are they able to vote?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I'm sorry. I did not specify that. Yes, they are able to vote if they do not have, if they're not serving a sentence on another case. And so I was trying to just clarify. I'm sorry. Yes, they are able to vote, but if they are serving a sentence on another case, they would not be prevented from voting.
What other issues have you seen in the court system that could be improved? Because in your position, you try cases, but you're also on the administrative side too. Not many of our listeners know about that. It's almost like a city council, but with the courts and with the various committees. What would those committees be? What would you be interested in doing on the administrative side?
So, like I said, I'm really a big proponent of giving our young people a second chance. So I would like to look at programs where we would be able to give our young people a second chance. There's not enough resources out there. I would work on bringing resources to the circuit court where if we have young people that are charged with, a misdemeanor offense, that they would be able to participate in a program where they would be able to divert and get a second chance at that. But I think you were also asking me in terms of like just administratively for the court system. I would like to see a court system or I would like to see an investment, and this would be a huge financial investment. So I don't know how realistic it is, but I would like to see an investment where, we could have, I know when I worked at 26 in California, the defendants and the victims have to use the exact same entrance. That's not very realistic. I mean, that creates a lot of tension, and then we rely on people to just remain, remain very calm and collected. But it's a criminal case, and that's a very, very difficult situation. And so we would see a lot of times there would be fights, and victims would be not willing to come to court because they're afraid to be able to confront the person that they were. They were confronting the person that offended them or that committed the crime against them. So we would have people that would be reluctant to come to court as a result of that. But I think if we had a real investment in a court system where we had an entrance for the defendants and entrance for the victims so that people would feel more comfortable coming to court and they would feel safe coming to court to testify, I think that would be something that would be helpful to the court system. It's the same situation. I mean, I haven't really done much practice in the Daly Center, but I think it's a similar situation in the Daly Center where you have litigants who are suing each other, and then they got to use the exact same entrance to come upstairs to come to the courtroom. So I would like to see an investment where we kind of reorganize that court. I mean, that's a different reorganization. I mean, I think it's a reorganization of the actual structural of the buildings. But
it has to start with the administration, right? The court administration.
Absolutely.
It has to start somewhere.
Absolutely, it certainly does. And so I would like to see that happen. That might be a kind of a pipe dream because again, I think that would be a significant financial investment, and I'm not sure if that is something that's a priority for the court system.
Well, yeah, there always needs to be a voice, and don't give up on your dream.
I won't at all.
Personal injury lawsuits too, they wind up in Cook County Circuit Court?
Yes, absolutely. Personal injury lawsuits, I believe those are handled in the law division of the Circuit Court of Cook County, and I believe those can be quite contentious as well. And again, the litigants are required, they're going to come and use the exact same entrance as the person that they're suing, and so I just So the Circuit Court, right? It is a court of general jurisdiction. And it is really quite substantial, the number of cases that are handled, the number of cases that are filed within the court system. And so so people should, that's one of the reasons why people should take the election of judges very seriously. They should make sure that they are electing people that are qualified and have experience working in the court system. And so that's why the judicial races are important. And judges also, there's also the county division where judges oversee some adoption cases and as well as election cases as well. So it's really important that we take the judicial races very, very seriously. And so, we have a democracy. We have 3 co-equal branches of government in our Constitution. We have the legislative branch, we have the judicial branch, and we have the executive branch. They are co-equal branches of government. There's not one branch that has more power than the other. And so it serves as and the reason why we have it that way is it serves as a way of checks and balances on each branch of government to ensure that no branch of government is running rogue.
The 26th in California, is that also part of the Cook County Circuit Court system?
It is. Yes, it is.
And it's only for criminal cases for that one?
Yes, there's only criminal cases, and it's primarily for, and they may have reorganized it since I've been there, but yeah, it's primarily for felony cases. So it's felony cases that happen within the city of Chicago. There are a certain limited number of traffic court cases that are heard there, but it's primarily for felony cases that are heard in the city of Chicago. And then in the circuit court system, they also have the suburban courthouse branches. So Chicago is the first district in Cook County.
So just a follow-up for that. If a court, let's say if there were too many felony cases that deriving from Chicago, and there's a little bit of overflow, would some of those cases migrate out of to another courthouse and not at 26th in California?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that is what happens. And so there are Chicago felony courtrooms that are heard in Bridgeview, and so that's where the overflow of the courtrooms go. It used to be in Markham and Bridgeview, but now I think the overflow of felony courtrooms are just in Bridgeview. And Bridgeview and Skokie. So it's certain police districts that are assigned to certain Chicago police districts that are assigned to the Skokie courthouse, and certain Chicago police districts that are assigned to the Bridgeview courthouse. So yes, there is an overflow of cases for the Chicago felony courtrooms, and until they go into the suburban courthouses. There are other suburban courthouses that are in the circuit court is Rolling Meadows. Got Skokie, and then you've got Maywood, Bridgeview Courthouse, and the Markham Courthouse.
So in your in your race to become a judge in the first Judicial Subcircuit, what is your main goal? Is it just to try cases, or is there something that you wish to accomplish? Is there something that you want to change?
So I am running for judge because being a judge is a public service. I've been a public service my entire career, and the reason why that is because I've always wanted to have a direct impact on the public in the way that the public and in the way just to have a direct impact on the public. Both of my parents are from the South. My mom's from Alabama, my father is from Tennessee, and so they really instilled in me to be a public servant and to help people and to bring fairness and justice to people. And so, and that was based upon their experiences here when they got to this area. So, my parents grew up in the segregated South, in the Jim Crow South. They had to leave to find economic opportunities. But when they came here, they did still have hardships. They still faced discrimination. But it was only through the help of people within the community, giving them a second chance, seeing the value within them.
One question, since your parents were in Jim Crow South, so as you know, unfortunately, our beautiful city of Chicago is still a very segregated city. What were your parents' opinions, Chicago versus the Jim Crow South, and what did they instill in you about working here, about living here, about serving here in Chicago?
Yeah, and so they didn't really have any specific statements about discrimination here in Chicago, but one of the things that they really wanted to instill in me is to give people an opportunity, help someone else. That was always my mom's biggest thing, and my father's biggest thing was to help someone else. You really have got to see that everybody needs help. It doesn't matter if you are you're smart, disciplined, hardworking, great work ethic and everything, you're still going to need some sort of assistance, like they did. Both of my parents ended up being very successful individuals. However, they still needed help, and so they wanted me to look at people saying, everybody doesn't understand the system. They don't understand the system perfectly, like someone who has been living here, and they want me to look at each individual with that mindset. And that's why I've always been, that's why they always impressed upon me to help and to give back. That's why I work so hard within the expungement clinics to help people, with the legal clinics, to help people to get the legal services that they need. And so that's always been one of the guiding principles for me. And I take that I'm going to take those values with me to the bench to ensure that people get a fair shake at the justice system, to ensure that they make sure that they know that their case is being heard.
What I've also heard is that a lot of times African Americans are reluctant to be witnesses, and when they are witnesses sometimes to testify, there are people that are surprised. They say that African Americans, they don't testify in cases. What is your position on that, and have you heard about that?
I've definitely heard. I have heard that, of course, working within the criminal justice system. I think that is a very broad statement to make as it relates to the criminal justice system and to African Americans. I don't think that's a fair assessment, because I think that a lot of people are reluctant to be witnesses. Mm-hmm. I don't think it matters in terms of what race you are. I think it's about their perception of the system, right? Whether or not they feel protected, whether or not they feel like they will be given a fair shake when they come to court. So I don't think that that's a fair assessment for just to say that African Americans feel that way, but I think that's a fair assessment that many people from other communities. I've had witnesses from all different races that have been reluctant to come to court, that we've had to issue subpoenas for. We had to get a rule to show cause to get them to come to court. So I think it's about people feeling safe when they come to court. Like I said, most of my cases have dealt with criminals in the criminal justice system, and so for them to for them to feel safe when they come to court and feel like they will, that they will be heard, and that there will not be retaliation. I think that's the biggest thing for folks when they come to court. So I don't think that is relegated to one particular race of people, but I think that's just in general. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And let's say you are a judge, and then what would you say to people to encourage them? It's okay to testify. It's necessary to testify. Is it necessary to testify? What would you say to them if you can?
Well, as a judge, you're not really having any direct contact with the witnesses. That's the lawyers. That is the lawyer's responsibility to bring the witnesses to court. It's the judge's responsibility to ensure that the witnesses are in compliance with the subpoena and the reasons why they are there in court. But yeah, so I would definitely have to make sure that the witnesses are in compliance with whatever subpoena and why the reason, and to provide the information for which they have been ordered to come to court for. But as I was saying before, I think it's really very important to ensure that people feel like their cases are being heard, and that they are, and that they feel like that they're getting a fair shake within the system.
And as a lawyer for 24 years?
Yes.
What about your clients? Do they feel that they're getting a fair shake on the whole?
Well, I think that I think that they do. I think that they do. I think you have to explain to them, what the system is about and what their expectations are. I think you have to manage people's expectations. I think any lawyer will tell you that when you're dealing with clients and you're dealing with victims and you're dealing with anyone, you have to manage people's expectations, because again, as I said before, people have a certain view of what the criminal justice system is, and it's based upon their, what is portrayed in the media, what is portrayed by Hollywood. And you kind of have to demystify that system for them and say, okay, it doesn't happen that way. This case is not going to be wrapped up within 60 minutes. And there's going to be certain things that you're going to be required to do, and it's going to be certain things that the other side is going to be required to do. And you have to manage their expectations. And I think when you manage people's expectations and you tell them what to expect up front, I think people feel they have a very, very good sense of what the criminal justice, or what to expect, and they feel like they've gotten a fair shake as a result of that.
Wow, Natalie Howse, who is running for the 1st Judicial Subcircuit. Thank you so much for clarifying part of the legal system for us, and so that our listeners understand better, and hopefully they understand what judges do and they vote the judicial ballot.
Yes, thank you. And please don't forget to vote on March 17th, 2026. My punch number is number 142. I'm running in the 1st Judicial Subcircuit, which is located entirely within the city of Chicago on the southeast side of Chicago. So if you live in the South Loop neighborhood, downtown, Hyde Park, Kenwood, Chatham, South Shore, Pill Hill, Greater Grand Crossing, Auburn, Gresham, Roseland, and Roseland Heights, I will be on your ballot on March 17th. So please remember to punch 142. You know what to do, and punch 142, and remember that House is in the house. Thank you.
And this over here by Chicago State at the Water Tower campus of Loyola University, is this your district too?
No, it is just a little bit north of the district. My district starts at Randolph Street, which is 150 north, and I think we are we're on Pearson, which I think is about 900 north.
Okay. And if our listeners want to learn more about you, where should they go?
They should go and visit my website. Please visit www.house4judge, and that's house spelled with a W, HOWSE, the number 4, the numerical 4, and judge, JUDGE.com. So remember, House4Judge, and you'll see everything on that website about me and my campaign.
Thank you so much, Natalie Howse.
Thank you so much for having me, Trudy.
Okay, perfect. Let's get a picture.
Okay.
We'll borrow my next guest. He'll help, and then you can help us get a picture as well. Let me put in another chair.
Okay. I thought you invited us here because we were Loyola alum.
You are? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know state representative. How does he pronounce his last name?
Huynh. Yeah,
Is he alum? Is he an alum as well?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know that you were an alum.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought this was. Yeah, I was.
Oh, holy cow. Okay, so that's that. And here, let me just put one extra in, and then and so I could just jump in and turn another one on. Wow. Okay, let me turn those cameras off for now, and then we'll use get a picture.
Okay.
Let me,
that'll be awesome.
Okay, let me get this. Get back in. And
Oh, sounds great.